Siluca Miletus rushes to a marriage ceremony that takes place between Alexis Dowsett and Marine Crest. Everyone hopes for their unification to end the war between the Alliance and the Union, but Siluca notices a chaotic convergence and is stopped by Irvin from interrupting. The demon god Diablos appear and traps everyone in her barrier. The Archdukes use their crests to fight her, but she kills them without much effort. This breaks the ties between the families of Aram and Marine, are separated from Alexis. Years pass by, and now we see Irvin taking Siluca to the seemingly lewd Lord of Altaric, Viller Constance. They are stopped by some goons, so Siluca decides to confront them, but a man named Theo arrives to save her honor. He claims to be neutral towards the war, but is attacked by the goons anyway. Theo takes them on and manages to scare them away, but he struggles while doing so. Siluca is curious and learns that Theo made his crest from chaos magic, and then he states his wish to become a lord. Siluca wants to test him, so she summons a massive demon and a fierce battle ensues. Theo struggles, but he luckily manages to kill the monster with his sword at the very last moment. He absorbs the demon's soul and becomes a knight-level crest, so Siluca forces him into a contract with her and leads him to Count Miadric, who is shown to be pompous and ignorant of the peace treaty. He is greeted by Theo and Siluca, but he orders his mage Sartorius to attack him. Luckily, Sartorius voids his contract, and then Theo strikes him down. Irvin appears and threatens Miadric, so he offers his crest to Theo. Now Siluca suggests that Theo should join the Alliance as his next move. Theo is officially welcomed as a lord, and he thinks back to the troubles of his hometown, Sistina. Now, Siluca summons a cat mage named Lord Valkyrie to deliver a message to her friend, Aishella. Later, she tells Theo that she wants the next ruler to be like the legendary hero Leon, and he agrees to follow her plan of action. Meanwhile, Lassic David gathers his mage, Moreno, and his team to attack Theo's mansion. As the troops come close, Aishella arrives with Valkyrie and is reunited with Siluca. Irvin joins the girls as the battle begins, and a hectic fight follows. Siluca attacks some guards, but then an invisible Moreno strikes her down. Aishella dominates against her opponents and also ends up flirting with a man named Peter while she's at it. Irvin dominates the soldiers, and then Lassic sets Gluck loose on him. However, Irvin defeats the giant as well. Meanwhile, Siluca struggles against Moreno, so Theo joins in to save her and capture the mage. Seeing the state of his troops, Lassic willingly surrenders and offers to become Theo's subordinate after giving him his crest. A healer named Priscilla arrives with the Order of the Crest, and Theo lets her inside despite Siluca's reservations. As everyone parties, Siluca talks about a plan to defeat the evil ruler of Sistina, Federico Rossini. She also tells Theo to take the name Cornaro to symbolize his true origin. Moreno is sent to King Savis to talk about Theo switching to the Alliance. Meanwhile, Sartorius berates Siluca for forcing Theo to follow her vision, so she goes to talk to him. But then, Irvin arrives to tell them that a chaos event has happened. They rush to the spot and find a fire salamander from Aether attacking everyone. Theo battles it, but he's no match, so Aishella distracts it while Priscilla heals the wounded. Siluca attacks the salamander with a water spell and kills it, after which Theo protects her from the resulting explosion. Siluca heals the next day and rushes to Theo to heal his wounds. She mentions what Sartorius told her earlier, but he says he's on the same page. Now Siluca talks about meeting Albesto, who is Marine's mage and her adoptive father. Moreno comes back and says that Savis will not surrender and wants to fight instead. As they prepare for battle, the survivors of the salamander attack will join in, and Theo blesses them with his crest and the Patriot flag. The next day, the troops collide and an epic battle follows, with each of the fighters using their unique set of skills to take down the army. Even the Free Lords join the battle to seal the deal, so Savis is forced to retreat. After their victory, Siluca goes to Marine and asks her to team up with Theo. She is interested in the idea, but Albesto advises her against it, and then they declare war. Siluca and Aishella go to Viller to seek help and meet his mage Margaret. She tells Siluca to forget about it, as she believes Siluca is being too casual. The team has a hard time coming up with a plan against Marine, but Toluca suggests a countermeasure. However, this causes Aishella to take on an entire army, and she is mortally wounded in the process. Luckily, Priscilla heals her as the troops continue to invade the castle. Theo and the others hold them off while Lassig takes on Savis' remaining troops, and finally kills the king as well. As they reconsider their plans, Toluca suggests a ceasefire and allows Lassig to take control of the Savis region. However, Aubesta says he'll only agree to her in exchange for Theo's life. As Marine and her forces prepare to destroy Theo's domain, Viller and his troops suddenly attack them, thus helping Theo regain his territory. Later, Viller meets Theo and says he wants Toluca to become his mage, but he refuses and instantly offers to serve under him as a knight instead. Viller is surprised, but he accepts the conditions. Now, we see Vampire King Dimitri and Werewolf Queen Clara in the middle of an argument, and then the Black Witch Yana joins in to try and instigate war, but Clara refuses to do so. After Theo is made a knight, Toluca meets Laura, Helga, and Colleen, who are a part of Viller's Mage Academy. They prepare for the arrival of Milza Kuchis, the Prince of Dartania. During dinner, Milza criticizes Theo's lack of ambition, even though Viller vouches for him. Later, Toluca and Theo are summoned by Lady Zelga and Viller, who sends them to the Forest of Eternal Darkness to solve some conflict between the werewolves and vampires, as Yana has kidnapped Clara's daughters, Luna and Emma. The queen confronts Yana and leaves her pack behind, as she is told to come alone. Theo and Toluca arrive soon after, but the wolves are hostile towards them. That's when Dimitri arrives in his bat form and guides the duo through. Meanwhile, Yana attacks Clara with an endless army of monsters, and she fights them all. Dimitri tells Theo and Toluca about what Yana has done, and then warns them by saying he will soon bring chaos upon the world. The duo heads downstairs after he leaves, and they find Clara struggling. They fight Yana's demons, and Clara saves her daughters but is mortally wounded. She manages to wound Yana, even though she still manages to get away. Clara passes away, but Luna and Emma are rescued and they decide to work under Theo now. Later, Viller learns that Margaret is turning 25, so he decides to void his contract with her. She gets upset, so Viller asks Toluca to throw her a party where even Rossini will be in attendance. The party kicks off, and Viller engages in an intimate dance with Margaret. Theo and Toluca also participate in an awkward dance, but then Milza decides to duel Theo. He wins the battle quite easily, and then the two of them argue over their respective motivations. Meanwhile, Margaret and Viller talk about his past and abusive mother Floria, who has made him afraid of commitment. Margaret confesses her love for Viller, but he says that he can't risk her happiness, so he must let her go. Later, Viller and the others discuss a battle plan to take on the Forbes and Clovis territories before going for a union meeting. Meanwhile, Milza goes to confront King Brannis and kills everyone in his court except for a boy named Nikolai so that he can spread the message of fear. After that, he absorbs everyone's soul to increase his power. Now, Theo and Toluca make their way to Lord Ladvantorius. After a long and detailed discussion regarding the situation at hand, Ladvan is overwhelmed by the support of his people and pledges his alliance to Theo. Meanwhile, Lassig defeats King Jericho and conquers Forbes. Viller throws a party to celebrate the win, and the team meets other members of the Union such as Clute and Marcus. Now Alexis arrives and is thrilled to see Theo. Later, Theo meets Rossini, who is hostile after learning of his surname being Cornaro, which is the given name to the heroes of Sistina. At night, Alexis sneaks into Theo's quarters and chats with him about his severed ties with Marine. Theo pledges to reunite them and unite the continent as one. However, before he leaves, Alexis is attacked by goons and the team unites to fight them all at once. Even Balgary drops by to save Toluca from a sneak attack, and then Irvin arrives to reveal that this is the work of shadows. Theo realizes the assault was targeted at him when he notices Rossini's flag, and it becomes convenient because Rossini will now be ousted from the Union for attacking Alexis. Marine finds out about this and laments her tragic relationship with Alexis because she believes they were never meant to be together. Viller learns about the attack as well and reveals to Theo and Toluca how Alexis met Marine 6 years ago at Eramu. A flashback shows us how he had totally fallen in love with her at first sight and sent her countless letters and flowers. She gains an interest and goes to a masquerade ball to meet him, but is harassed by one of the guests. Alexis saves her from the creep but is knocked out in the process. They have a chat after he wakes up, and then Alexis says that he loves Marine despite their family's issues. Marine is hesitant, but she eventually kisses him. Later, she sees him with children, and then they talk about his ideals. Marine can't resist Alexis anymore and finally agrees to be his queen. Back to the present, the Union discusses Rosini's expulsion, and after a heated argument, Viller manages to regain control of the conversation. Alexis offers to make Viller the new Union leader, but he declines as he doesn't want to create any further conflict. The Union tries to pursue peace with the Alliance, but Marine refuses their request and decides to attack Lord Pavel Morado. Pavel asks for Viller for help, but he doesn't want to betray Alexis, even though Siluca and Milza asks him to do so. Siluca worries Altric will be destroyed, so Theo brings her along to the Boltova border to give her a break. It begins to rain, so they take shelter in a massive tree. Theo acts like a gentleman with Siluca and says that he will never leave her side. She also promises to be with him right to the end and engages in a warm embrace. Then, they declare their love for each other and kiss. The next day, a violent war breaks out between Pavel and Marine. Milza manages to defeat Marine's troop with relative ease, so she is forced to retreat. In a desperate effort to win, Marine decides to use dirty tactics and Albesto uses miasma on the nearby river. The fumes incapacitate the troops and this allows Marine's forces to break in and kill Pavel. Later, Marine meets Milza and asks for his help in the war, but he will only agree to do so if he can have her for the night. With no other option, she agrees to it. Milza keeps his promise and murders his own father to take control of the D'Artagnan troops. Viller's brother Salge heads off for battle with his mage Ellet in order to defeat Marine's new army. Then Viller asks Countess Edokio to send her ships as well, and she agrees. Meanwhile, Lassik prepares his men for battle with a few jokes. The fleets from D'Artagnan make their way towards Viller, and he suspects something fishy, so he asks Colleen to prepare the mirror. Margaret also arrives and reveals that Milza has defected to Marine's side. Milza is way too strong for Viller's troop and takes them down one by one. The commander tries burning the ship to kill him, but Milza jumps into the water after stabbing him. Now Colleen uses the mirror weapon, and Edokio also arrives to dominate the battle, but Milza calls for more ships. Meanwhile, Solon helps Salge escape with Ellet and he is cornered, and then he takes on Marine's men. She sends in more forces despite losing and manages to kill Solon after a lengthy fight. Edokio's troops suffer heavy casualties, so she is sent away before the ship is taken down. The others in the Union discuss the situation, and Alexis wants to save Viller, but their chances are slim. The battle wages on, and the lovers share one final kiss before Margaret unleashes her flames, and Viller starts killing the enemy forces. Udurika makes her way to Colleen and kills her so that the mirror cannot be used anymore. Now Margaret unleashes all her powers and destroys as many soldiers as she can before she vanishes into thin air. Viller goes crazy and attacks the soldiers with a burning passion before Marine fires Crest bullets at him. Viller is able to block them, but he willingly surrenders to Marine and wishes for her to be happy with Alexis before breathing his last. Having won the war, Marine gives Milza the throne and makes him the new ruler of Altric. Milza continues to kill Viller's soldiers as they refuse to yield to him. Realizing their disadvantage, the Union decides to create the Altric Treaty in Viller's honor. After some polarized discussions, they decide to make Lassik their new leader. They use Salge as bait for Milza and he takes it before he meets Lassik. The both of them engage in a grueling battle and trade some blows before Milza is forced to retreat. Marine wishes to meet Theo before they fight and he agrees to it. Siluca has a brief moment of joy with her father, and then Theo tells Marine about Alexis, but she continues to fight her feelings without any feasible explanation. With no other resolution, they decide to meet in the battlefield and then Theo uses his love for Siluca to motivate his troops. Suddenly, Marine is forced to retreat when Kraut Gallus defeats the Nord King Eric. Siluca says that this is the perfect time to visit Sistina and defeat Rosini, so Theo sets off on his journey after getting Lassik's approval. And that's the end of part 1. Like, share, and subscribe so you can catch part 2 when it goes up. Click the bell icon to get notified when it happens. See you soon!